Alright, this video I'm going to speak about narcissistic personality disorder. Now this is basically my understanding and my feedback based on my experiences. I'm going more from a spiritual approach and studying meditation for, over 15 years. So I'm going from that approach. Not from the academic approach, and also based on life experiences and what I've gone through, which is wisdom. I'm going from that approach. This is a very serious video to help people in their mental and spiritual development. And this is a disorder where very few people will ever seek help for, especially face to face with a therapist, and you're actually paying the person money and things like that. And part of the problem is the therapists themselves may not exactly know how to help a person with this type of disorder. Now, this is something that you could look up on yourself as well. You could go and look at a bunch of YouTube videos, type it in, narcissism or NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, or there's a lot of articles out there as well. One place that I like to go is called Quora. There's a lot of articles out there talking about it as well on there. And there's also a lot of books that you could read about this disorder. Now, I want this video not just to be an educational video, but to also be a self-reflective video into looking at your own life and your own experiences, and to how to ensure that you do not have that disorder yourself. It pretty much becomes a disorder when it just gets out of control. So narcissism is essentially like the ego, unchecked. The disorder occurs when it is completely unchecked, unfiltered, all that. Narcissism, before it gets to the disorder, is basically somebody who has a huge ego. Somebody who is very spiritually grounded, somebody who's very meditative, somebody who's humble, and somebody who they call an empath. People that have compassion towards others. That is like the opposite of narcissism. Alright, so from a lot of the things that some of these people are saying, some of them are saying that it's genetic. Some of them are saying that it's a learned thing, a learned behavior. A lot of people are saying, almost saying that there's no hope. These people will not change, and they cannot change. And there's people that are saying that the only remedy is just to stay away from these people, to just have no contact with these people. Now, some people are saying that the percentage rate of the people out there that have narcissism or that are narcissistic is like 50% of the population, 40% of the population. They don't know exactly how much a percentage of the population that is narcissistic. As far as having this disorder is concerned, some of them are saying that it's 1 to 2%, but then the numbers are kind of hard to identify who actually has the disorder, when a part of the characteristic of somebody who is NPD is that they always think that they're right. So if they always think that they're right, then they don't feel that there's anything wrong with themselves. So if they don't feel there's anything wrong with themselves, then they're not going to go in for any type of help. So it's going to be a lot lower than what the statistics say. Now, the problem is that in this culture, it's almost like we are breeding narcissists, especially with the social media. It's like they're rewarding narcissists for their behaviors. And as long as they do that, narcissism is going to be an endless problem in the society. If you keep rewarding the narcissist for being narcissistic. But I see also what it is that if 50% of the population is narcissistic, then you're going to have 50% of the people who also will encourage that behavior and think that it's normal behavior. The more that it becomes normal, then the more that people are going to feel that there's nothing wrong with this behavior. So the narcissist is somebody who, you know, you could take celebrities as an example. Like Donald Trump. People say that he either has a disorder, the NPD, or he's extremely narcissistic. He's an example. So that feeling of entitlement, that's a big part of it. A narcissistic person feels entitled. They feel that they should receive special treatment just for being who they are. You know, they might not have even earned that right, and then they still feel that way. So say with Trump, for example, being, you know, growing up wealthy for his whole life, having wealth for his whole life, he doesn't even have an idea of how it's like to struggle, to be poor, to not be able to pay for certain things, to not be able to pay for college, to not be able to, you know, have a nice home, to live in an apartment, to live in a studio, to have to wash your own clothes, to have to not be able to own a car, and to bike around in a regular bike, to not have a girlfriend, to, you know, just to not have all these luxuries that he's been born and raised to have. He sees the world in a way where, you know, everything is catered to him. You know, he goes somewhere, and everybody knows who he is. Everybody is willing to submit to everything that he wants out of life. He tells somebody to bow down, they bow down. He tells somebody to go wash his car, they'll wash his car. He tells somebody to do his taxes, they'll do his taxes. He'll tell somebody, you know, whatever he desires, he gets. And people that typically have a lot of money, that's how they are. You know, they feel entitled to everything. You know, that just because of who they are, their name, their status, their money, their power, they expect that they will have everything. You know, say, you know, not just Donald Trump, but another example would be like Mayweather. He's known to be narcissistic as well. I mean, you know, multi-billionaire, you know, boxer, 50-0, one of the greatest boxers to ever live. Everywhere he goes, people will know who he is. You know, he'll wear, you know, a bunch of gold chains, driving nice cars, you know, like, he would expect everybody to treat him a certain way, you know, of putting him on a pedestal. If people do not put him on a pedestal, he'll take it as a disrespect. He'll be offended. You know, he expects everybody to act a certain way. You know, he wants, you know, expect everybody to want his autographs, expects everybody to applaud him, expect everybody to just be all over him because he's Mayweather, because he has all this money, because he's one of the greatest boxers to ever live, you know, because he is who he is, you know. And then it's like people like him, people like Trump, like, it's pretty much safe to say that they will never change, because they've lived like this year after year after year after year, and it comes to a point where not only it's not to their benefit to change, you know. And it's almost like saying, okay, one day will they ever be broke and have nothing? Will there ever be a day when they just are just a regular person just like everybody else? Like, that day will not come. You know, they're just gonna be that way forever. You know, so almost anybody famous will have that disorder. Kim Kardashian, Kanye West, you know, Bill Gates, you know, Steve Jobs, you know, anybody that is super successful, super rich, super famous, super wealthy, it's like they will have this type of disorder, this disorder of entitlement, this disorder of this feeling of superiority over others, feeling that they're better than others. So this is being encouraged from everybody around them to be this way, you know, that, hey, this is how we treat people in this culture. You know, like when we watch the Olympics and we see Usain Bolt running through the finish line and he's way ahead of everybody else, the whole world, a majority of the world is praising him, bowing down to him, throwing money at him, women all over him. Everybody's all over him. Everybody wants his autograph. Everybody wants a photo. Like, everybody's putting him on a pedestal. So when he gets treated this way, then he's just gonna be like, well, I guess I am better than everybody. I guess I am superior to everybody. I guess that I am, like, I deserve to have special treatment. You know, and that is pretty much what narcissism is this feeling of entitlement, this feeling that I am special. And so I'm using all these famous people as examples. But what it is that the regular person, you know, that's not famous, that's not rich, that's just a regular person, they could have this mentality over others of, you know, and that way of thinking becomes narcissism or the NPD or the disorder. And that's what everybody's talking about. You go online and, you know, you type this in, they'll be talking about it. You look at the articles, they'll be talking about it. And the thing is, like, literally it could be close to maybe even 50% of the people out there are either narcissistic or they have the disorder. Now, it's going to be typical for people to say, well, I'm not narcissistic. I don't have the disorder. But then you point fingers at other people and say that they have it. And then you don't put any effort to learn about it and to educate yourself about it in which to improve your life. Because I feel that this type of information is important for everybody. Even the people that don't have the disorder or that are not narcissistic. The reason why it's important is because it gets you to understand other people, and it can help your life in so many ways in which to learn how to deal with people that have this disorder or this narcissistic characteristic. Because no matter what, there's no way that you will ever go throughout life without encountering a narcissistic person, you know, in some way or some form. The narcissistic person could be your teacher, it could be your dentist, your lawyer, it could be your friend or ex-friend, it could be your girlfriend or your ex-girlfriend, it could be your mom, it could be your dad, it could be your brother, it could be your sister, it could be the stranger at the counter at the grocery store, it could be your co-worker. And a lot of times I see this where your job is great, but the people that you work with make your job horrible. And the reason why is because you don't get along with the people you work with for whatever reason. And what happens is when an empath, somebody who's very caring, very giving, very sharing, very compassionate, they are like magnets to the narcissist. So if you start going to work and you're working with a narcissist and you're an empath, you're gonna have a lot of problems. They're gonna make your work like one of the worst experiences that you could have, no matter what type of no matter what line of work you're in. And you could have spent your whole life trying to be a doctor, and you are a doctor, but then once you get in there, you know, you're working with a lot of narcissists, and then all of a sudden you hate your job. Not because the job sucks, because it's because of the people that you work with. You know, it's you can't get along with them, and it's because you're like the opposite of them. You know, the narcissist is always taking, the empath is always giving. You know, and then, okay, you might not be a narcissist yourself, you might be an empath, but because you don't understand narcissists and you don't know how to work with them and how to like deal with them, like they're gonna make your life misery. So this information is important for everybody. It's important for the empath, and it's also important for the narcissist, because if there's any glimmer of hope, any light of a potential change, then seeking out that information and identifying those traits within yourself and going through the work, the hard work to change that behavior, that can be a potential for mental and spiritual growth. Now, I can't go ahead and say that it's impossible, you know, for people to change for the better. You know, that's like saying, hey, you know, this person's overweight, there's no way that they'll ever be in shape. Like, we've seen it. Obviously, people that are not in shape can get in shape. It just takes a lot of work. You know, you gotta exercise the right way, you gotta eat the right way, and it can happen. And it's the same thing with your mental health. You know, like, if somebody's highly narcissistic, there's hope. That you just have to, they just have to put the effort to change certain behaviors and certain thought patterns, thought processes, in order to not be narcissistic. It just takes a lot of effort. But the thing is, a narcissistic person will always think that they're right. And as long as they think that they're right all the time, they'll never change. That's true. But if there is a part of them who could identify something, these issues that they have, and go out to seek help for it, then there's potential for change. So what I'm saying is, if you're dealing with a narcissistic person, especially if you're dating them, it's almost like a criteria where once you identify that they're narcissistic, it's almost like you have to make a requirement that in order for you to even stay with them, that they're gonna have to take like therapy at least once a week or more, or 3 times a week, with the therapist to help them with this disorder or with this trait. You know, but if they do not go for help continuously, then the best thing to do is to leave the situation and never have contact with the person again, because that person, that trait, that narcissistic trait, is gonna destroy your life. Because it's like the empath and the narcissist, they don't mix in well. You know, the narcissist is gonna destroy the empath. You know, it's almost like somebody who's peaceful, and then say you have a lion who say he's a narcissist and he's hungry. He's gonna eat the prey. The prey is like that humble, peaceful, just that deer eating the grass, or the sheep just chilling. And the narcissist is like the lion, who's like, as long as he's not hungry, everything's good. Once he starts getting hungry, which eventually is gonna happen, he's gonna chase after that prey, and not just chase after the prey, but he's gonna eat that prey. He's gonna kill that prey, murder that prey. So the prey is like the empath. You know, just naturally a peaceful person, vegan, vegetarian, don't want to hurt nobody, just, you know, at one with nature. The narcissist is like that lion who's everything's fine as long as the lion ain't angry, as long as the lion is not hungry, then empaths are okay. But they're not gonna be okay for long, because once that lion gets hungry, empaths better run. And if they don't run, they're gonna get eaten alive. And that's exactly what happens in real life between the empaths and the narcissists. If the empath is dating a narcissist, that narcissist is gonna eat up that empath until that empath no longer exists. Like, not necessarily in a physical. It can happen in physical, because the narcissist can murder the empath, or encourage the empath to commit suicide, or the narcissist will essentially drain the spirit of the empath through time, to the point where the empath is just like a living corpse, no spirit at all anymore. So once a narcissist has been identified and you are actually dating one, the recommendation, strong recommendation, is to cut ties with the narcissist altogether and just leave, just get as far away from the person as possible and cut all contact. If that is not an option and you want to try to make it work, the narcissist has to go to a psychologist or a therapist at least once a week, or 2 times a week, or 3 times a week, and put that effort to change and to develop more of the qualities of an empath. Now, if they refuse to do that, then you have to leave the situation. So it's like this. It's like you're dating somebody who's extremely out of shape, and then you just no longer attracted to the person. Well, in order for this person to change, they're gonna have to eat right, and they're gonna have to exercise, and they're not just gonna have to do it for one day, but they're gonna have to do it consistently, day after day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, until they change. And if they don't put that effort, then they're not gonna change. So it's the same thing with your mental health. If I have identified there's something wrong with you mentally, and you need help, and they don't ever seek for help, they don't continue to work on their health, then they're just never gonna change. So that's what I see. And really, it's a sad thing when you see this disorder in people at various stages in their life. I've met people that are even in their 40s, 50s, 60s that have this narcissistic trait or this disorder, and it's not a great thing to see, and it's very difficult to deal with these people, and they're very highly sensitive to criticism. You criticize them in anything and they just go off the Richter scale, and once you do the research, you'll find all these traits that narcissistic people have, and I'm not going to go through each trait, but the main ones is this feeling of being special. Even if they didn't even work towards having the right to feel this way, they just feel that way. So basically, when we talk about racism and the problems with racism in this society, it's the same issue with narcissism. So it's like a narcissistic person is the type of person that can easily be a racist, because they just feel that entitled, that just because of their skin color they're better, or they're just superior over others just because of their skin color. No other reason other than that. And that's how a narcissistic person is. They just feel that they're just above others, that they're superior and everybody else is inferior, for whatever reason, and they'll treat you that way. You go out to dinner with them, the way that they treat the waiter, they're constantly talking down on the waiter or the waitress. They just feel so good about themselves because they feel because they dress better, they look better, or they have a nicer car, or they have a nicer, bigger home, a nicer home. They feel that because they're so fit, they just feel that they're just better than everybody around them. They put everybody down. Narcissists are extremely arrogant people, extremely arrogant. They're the type of people that will never admit to any faults ever. It's always somebody else's fault. It's never their fault. They could never do wrong. Narcissists have this mentality, and that's how they think, and that's how they treat people. They look at people. They don't have empathy, so they don't care about other people. All they care about is themselves. Narcissists are willing to steal to get on top. They're willing to cheat. They're willing to lie. They're willing to hurt people to get on top. They don't care about other people. So when you talk about it in the context of the martial arts, it's one of the biggest issues, because martial arts, it can give you power. So narcissists are drawn towards anything that could give them more power. So you will find a lot of narcissists that are drawn towards the martial arts, that are drawn towards boxing, kickboxing, cage fighting, football. Narcissists are drawn to law enforcement. They're drawn to the military. They're drawn into any positions of great power. So if you're a martial arts instructor, you're going to deal with a lot of people that come through that door that have this type of trait, this narcissistic trait, or this narcissistic personality disorder. You're going to be dealing with people like this, and you're going to have to learn how to work with these people, and you cannot allow them to go under their terms. You need to teach according to your way, and get them to change, to not allow them to change you, but you have to change them, and if the power dynamic changes and you allow them to change you, then the school and your teachings will be very much corrupted, and then you could start infecting people that are empaths with this narcissistic trait and this disorder, and you're spreading negativity at that point. So you look at what combat sport is all about. You literally have to beat somebody down to win. To get the money, to get the belt, to get the attention, to get the fame, you need to beat somebody down. Not just beat them down, but almost put them to near death. Knock them out, knock them unconscious, break something, break their nose, break their jaw, break their bone, do something to hurt them in order to win. And once you do that, they throw money at you. They encourage you. They tell you to do it again. They give you even more money. Okay, but you look at out there in the society, in the streets, if you just beat somebody down, they don't give you money, they don't give you fame, they don't give you fortune, they throw you in jail. So out there in the streets, violent behavior is not rewarded. But in that ring, in that cage, in that sporting event, it's encouraged. So that's why it's not going to stop. As long as it's being encouraged, as long as people are being rewarded for that behavior, it is not going to stop. It's going to continue on until we allow it to, as long as we allow it to continue. And that's why this disorder will never go away. That's why people that are narcissistic, it will never go away. Because this behavior is being encouraged. Even with social media. Women posting all these pictures of them being half naked, getting all this attention, and getting all this, some of them getting a lot of money, and they just put a bunch of selfies up showing how beautiful they are. Their whole profile is filled with pictures of them, and just taking pictures of themselves, and they get all this attention, all these likes, all these comments, and all this money for essentially just taking pictures of yourself, to just basically showing off to the world how beautiful you are. And then once these people just keep sending you messages over and over, telling you how beautiful you are, how amazing you are, and it just creates this whole feeling that you are great, you are beautiful, you are special. And then this special feeling, this gives you this feeling of entitlement, where anybody that says that you're not beautiful, anybody that says that you are, that criticizes you in any way, it could erupt anger in you, and it make you lash out, and essentially it's like breeding this type of disorder. And the time that changes, that any change could come in a natural way, usually it'll come through age. Like a woman that's considered quote unquote beautiful and is praised for being beautiful, they go into Playboy, they go into the porn industry, or they just, they go into stripping, or whatever the case may be. But once they get to the age of 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, then they lose that physical beauty, and then people don't treat them in that way anymore. Then it starts shrinking their ego, and then the disorder might start to disappear. The narcissism might start to disappear because the people around them are no longer treating them with any favoritism, with any sort of entitlement. So then now they end up becoming more humble, like more like the rest of the people, more of just treating people with respect as humans. But now they're 55 years old. But when they're in their 20s, their ego was so big, and they start treating everybody like crap, like they're so great, so entitled. And this disorder is at a high point. But with age, normally it just chips away at that ego to get them to just be more respectful, more humble, more modest, more compassionate. But that came with age. And it's not because they wanted to change. It's because they were forced to change, because the people around them, the way they treated them, it flipped. But a person that's narcissist had this huge ego. If he wants to change, he could put forth the effort to change, him or her. They could put forth the effort to change and develop to be more of an empath, to be more compassionate, to be more loving, to be more respectful, and to treat people like equals. And the only way that could happen is through that self-reflection, that self-realization that you want to change. But if you never look at yourself that you need to change, then you will just stay the way that you are forever. Maybe age might change you because of the way people might treat you that are around you. And then it might gradually change. So for another example is Mike Tyson. During the prime of his career, is going to be highly narcissistic. NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, at that height of his career. But now, I think he's around 55 or something like that. Now that he's a lot older, it's gonna that ego's gonna shrink. He's gonna calm down. His narcissistic traits are not gonna be as much as they were in the past. He's gonna be nicer. He's gonna be a little bit more, humble. But that fire is still there, but it's turned into, rather than a big flame, it's turned into it's gradually turning into more of a candle, where it's still there, but it's not like a huge flame, when he was in his prime. So I think, everybody out there is gonna have an ego. But the spirituality comes in, the meditation comes in, of learning about this ego and not allowing the ego to control you, but you to have control of the ego. Like, you're in full authority, not the ego. And all of us are gonna experience some of these traits as we live through life. We're gonna feel what they're talking about. Like, ask yourself, like, am I entitled? Do I feel that I'm entitled? Ask yourself, do I feel that I'm special? Now, the thing is, this is an interesting thing, you know, okay, narcissistic person thinks that they're special. Well, should we not feel that we're special? Should we all just feel that we're just average? You know, like, what's wrong with feeling special? You know, like, Floyd Mayweather, why shouldn't he feel special? Usain Bolt, why shouldn't he feel special? Donald Trump, why shouldn't he feel special? You know, like, people that, you know, LeBron James, why shouldn't he feel special? Michael Jordan, why shouldn't he feel special? Mike Tyson, Bruce Lee, why they should not feel special? Like, they worked hard, they got to where they're at, you know. So it's gonna be hard for people to accept that they're not special. It's gonna be very hard because, in a way, it's like that's what we're born and raised to do, to work hard so one day that we are special. So why all of a sudden you're telling people that it's wrong to feel special? And I think what it is that it's okay to feel special, but at the same time you have to realize that others, many others, not just you, are special as well. Like, there's a lot of great people out there. It's not just you in this world. There's a lot of great people in this world, a lot of special people in this world. It's not just you that are special, but a lot of people are all special. And a very spiritual person, a very meditative person, will come to the realization that they truly feel this way, that everybody is special. Everybody. And not just people, but animals. All animals are special. Not just the lion, but the cow, the squirrel, the bird, like the whale, the shark, the fish. Every animal is special. You know, like, a very spiritual, a very meditative person has trained his spirit to get to that point where it's not just do they have self-respect, but they have respect for others. Not just themselves, but for others as well. And not just others, but for everybody. You know, and they don't just have self-love, but they have love for their family, for their friends, and on top of that, for strangers. So they have love for everybody. You know, and I'm not saying that everybody's going to get to that point of spirituality and meditativeness, but what I'm saying is that people that are narcissistic, they just think about themselves and nobody else. But you can gradually train and develop yourself where you can start caring for others other than yourself. And that's where it starts. You know, that's where the change starts. You know that you're so important, you're so great, you're the center of the world, but then you learn to put that into others. It could be your mother, your father. I mean, because after all, you would never be here if it wasn't for them. So maybe you put it into them. Maybe you put it into your grandparents. Maybe you put it into your child. You know, this is your child that you decide to have. So how could you not care for your own child? You know, like, you have to get your mind off of just you. Try to treat others with care. And then maybe you meet somebody and you fall in love with somebody and you actually treat that person as an extension of you. So you love them as much as you love yourself. And then slowly you just keep building on that. And then you take yourself away from this narcissistic personality where it's not just all about you, but it starts to be about others as well. Now, it's not an easy thing to do, But I'm not going to say that it's impossible. I'm not going to say that there's no hope. There is hope, and it is possible, but it has to start from the individual, where they realize that there's something wrong with the way that they're treating others, and they need to change, and then they have to seek towards surrounding themselves with empaths with the goal of changing, because the empaths will help them change, as long as they're willing to change. But if they're not willing, and if they fall back into those old habits, those old tendencies, then yes, they're not going to change. And at that point, if they've given up on themselves to change, and they just want to stay the way that they are with this disorder or with this characteristic, then it is highly recommended that the empath stays away from this narcissist and far away, because they're going to eat up the energy of the empath until the empath is non-existent. Just like that example of the lion and the deer or the sheep. They were born this way. The lion was born this way. The deer was born that way. And that's how they stay. So if that is the truth, if it is that narcissists are born this way and there's absolutely no way that they can change, then what it means for the empath that is born to be an empath, somebody that's born to be giving, sharing, compassionate, loving, somebody that's born to be this way, they need to learn about this special information about the narcissist, so they will not be, so they're less likely to be manipulated, they're less likely to be controlled, and for their lives to be destroyed by these narcissists. Because like I said, no matter what, you are going to encounter a narcissist in your life. Not just a narcissist, but many narcissists. And you will identify these narcissists within the famous people out there in this world. You're going to identify it within the groups that you hang out with. You're going to identify it when you're in school. You're going to identify it when you're in work. You're going to identify it when you go to the gym. They're all over the gym too. You're going to identify it when you go to the martial arts school. No matter what, you're going to encounter these people. And it's important to learn about these people that are narcissists in order to really live a fulfilling life. Because then who are the people that you could get close to, and who are the people that you need to put a barrier to protect yourself. Because there's people out there, they don't have your best interests at heart. Narcissists are extremely jealous people, extremely competitive, extremely envious. Narcissistic people, they're trained to think that way. They're out there to manipulate. They're out there to sabotage. They see something going on in your life, and they want to take that happiness away from you. They want to stomp all over you. They enjoy seeing you cry. They enjoy seeing you in misery. They want to destroy any sense of peace or happiness that you have. That's how narcissists see you and how they see others, and they will treat people with disrespect. They will gossip. They will manipulate. They'll do all these devious things to get what they want. So as an empath, you really have to be aware of this. You need to be prepared for this. You need to be trained to fight against this. And this is like the psychological battle, that's related to the martial arts. Martial arts trains you how to defend yourself physically, but it also is supposed to train you how to defend yourself mentally and also spiritually. And this is part of that training, to learn how to defend yourself as an empath, to learn how to defend yourself against these narcissists. Basically, the narcissists are like the bullies. There is always going to be bullies out there in this world, and the martial arts is designed to help you, defend yourself against the bullies. There will always be racists out there, no matter what. Martial arts trains you to learn how to spiritually defend yourself against racists. You know, if they cannot change and they refuse to change, then you stay away from them. No contact. Do not let these people come into your life whatsoever. So that's the same thing with what I go through. When people send me hate messages, try to attack me, I stay away from them. I don't want anything to do with them. You know, but the people that are very dangerous are the people that put on a smile, a fake smile, but then inside they want to tear you down. So they come in as a friend, but then actually they're an enemy. And those are the most dangerous people out there in this world. And those are the people that you gotta be careful with. And those are the narcissists, you know, that are out there that will try to put on a smile, to act like they're on your side, but actually they're your enemy. They're like the traitor, you know, infiltrating into another country, you know, to get secret information, take it back to their own country. You have to be very careful with these people. And there's another thing to look up. It's called a covert narcissism. So you can type that in as well. Read up on that, learn about that. The covert narcissism is basically like that introverted, shy type of narcissist who's not overly arrogant, but he's more like the type who's like overly insecure, or somebody who thinks the world's out to get him. He always plays victim, always blaming the world for where he's at. Watch out for those people as well. So the people that are watching this video, you're either an empath or you're a narcissist, or you're a little bit of both. You know, so you have to see where you're at. If you're a little bit of both, then you have more of a balance. And then you could learn, okay, remind yourself of the traits of a narcissist of which you want to stay clear from. You know, keep working on building that spirit, that meditation. If you're an empath and you're pretty much already at that level where you're just super giving, super compassionate, just a very, very respectful like person that's just, you know, somebody who's just highly spiritually aware, you're an empath, but you still need to develop yourself and learn how to protect yourself against those narcissists. And if you're a narcissist, then you need to do some self-reflection. Like, do you want to stay this way, or do you want to change? If you want to change, then you really got to consciously put forth that effort to change. You know, seek out help. You know, go to a therapist, go to a psychologist. Not just weekly, but try to go multiple times a week. Just like people that work out 3 times a week or more, you should be going to a therapist 3 times a week or more. And if you're not going to go to a therapist, then start reading some books on this narcissism. Start watching some videos. Start educating yourself on these, you know, on this, and try to do some healing through self-discovery and through the seeking of knowledge, through your effort to really, you know, go through some self-help books. Really work on like lowering this ego. You know, just making it smaller, and maybe one day you can make it get, you know, eradicated, you know, or at least deeply understand it and not allow it to control you, you know, but you be in control of the ego, you know. And there's a deep teaching from the East that's saying that essentially the ego is not something to eradicate, because essentially the ego didn't even exist to begin with. So there's nothing to eradicate because the ego just doesn't exist. So that's another deep teaching as well. You know, but I've been studying Eastern philosophy and meditation, you know, for over 15 years. And I've been doing this for a long time. And this is my approach to the understanding of this disorder, the narcissistic personality disorder. And this is an issue that is all over this culture, you know, and this is something that needs to be addressed. But it needs to be addressed on an individual level, you know, and really put in the work, you know, to work on your meditation, to work on your spirituality. You know, so I hope this video helped out some people out there, and I want to thank everybody for all your support. Everybody take care.